You clash with the opinions of others, and that's how it's supposed to be. You're not a gold coin that everyone likes. Folks, Fernando doing another video for the Modern Survivalists, and yes, we'll be talking about how the elite is going after Russell Brand. Why is it? What is it that they're afraid of? Before I go on, for those of you that are new to the channel or that have not bought it already, you want to get my books, Street Survival Skills and Surviving the Economic Collapse. Both of these will really help you in your journey of preparedness, especially given how hard times are already and how much harder they will be in the not so distant future because of all the reasons that we talk about here all the time. Okay, there you have the links below in the description. Will be quite helpful in your preparedness. So what is it that we're talking about here in the case of Russell Brand? Why is it that they hate these, what is that JP called him? Freedom lover or freedom? Anyway, I actually like some of the things that JP says. I actually don't agree with a few of the things that he says. That's how it's supposed to be. At any moment that you find yourself idolizing or you find yourself agreeing with everything someone else says, there's probably something you should be working on yourself so as to be able to forming your own opinions, which by definition, they cannot possibly align with everything that someone else says, because if that's the case, you're not doing enough critical thinking. But let's get to this, okay? This is what JP says, and this is kind of typical of what you hear.
But amidst this litany of astonishing, rather baroque attacks are some very serious allegations that I absolutely refute.
Outspoken freedom lover Russell Brand has been accused of some heinous crimes. Do you think he's guilty or do you think he's innocent? I think he's innocent, and I'll tell you why. Welcome back to the JP Reacts channel, my beautiful freedom.
Okay, enough of the freedom lover. He called. Okay, he thinks he's innocent, and it may well be. I have no crystal ball, absolute truth to share with you guys. I do have some thoughts that I think are. Is Russell Brand really a freedom lover? What is that he called him? Freedom lover, was it?
Loving friend. Russell Brand has been accused of some
refute.
Outspoken freedom lover.
Outspoken freedom lover. Okay, I want to quote that correctly. No. Russell Brand has always mostly been a far left communist type of guy. His ideology has always been left, if not far left. I think that even now, when he has more of a conservative, more of a right-wing appealing narrative, I think that often enough he calls himself a liberal, not in the classic definition of a liberal, which liberal was the opposite of what socialism was, right? Yeah, you know how these things work, but Russell Brand is mostly socialist, left-wing, labor supporter, openly so. I don't think that has changed a whole lot. I think it has changed the way in which he approaches his podcast. I think it was quite useful for him, and it definitely was. And he saw the appeal, and he ran with that. And dude, good for you. It worked fantastically well. But even himself, often enough, he admits that he's more of a left-wing kind of guy. He talks about organizing communes. For fuck's sake, what is that? What kind of conservative, right-wing, capitalist talks about organizing people in communes and pretty much getting rid of private property? I think that at times he has talked about such a thing. You know, don't quote me exactly on that, but by any stretch of the imagination, Russell Brand has always been a left, if not far left, supporter. But he says some things that are correct, that many of us agree with. He knows exactly what kind of thing we like to hear. He says that. And the same can be said about Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate is what? A Chad man of men, is he? Well, no, absolutely not. Many of the things that Andrew Tate openly has admitted to himself numerous times makes him a human trafficker by his own words. When he talks about tricking girlfriends into coming over to his own country to work for him, he's basically admitting to committing a crime. I'm actually more surprised by why he's not in jail right now rather than why he was ever there at all. And at times he has admitted to doing things that should have gotten the attention of police. There's a pretty long, incriminating interview of Russell Brand, of Andrew Tate, when he talks about being visited by the police, giving some of the incidents with his girlfriend's violence and so on. And he thought that he was being arrested, or he was being, the police were dropping by his place because of some other things that he has done, in his own words, that should have gotten him in trouble with cops. So Andrew Tate is not by any stretch of the imagination someone that has shared values with us that consider family, freedom, liberty, all of us that have a libertarian point of view, especially when it comes to the true way in which you support those rights for everyone. Men, women, children that are very young, children that haven't been born yet. We support the idea of freedom, liberty for everyone to its maximum extent within an organized civil society, right? We don't believe in absolute anarchy and everyone for himself, because that will probably be impairing on the rights of those that are less capable of fighting, defending themselves by any means possible, right? We believe that we want to have an organized society that is peaceful, that respects the rights of individuals and your pursuit of happiness and the ability to rise, from the common, based on your own effort, your own creativity, your own way through life. We believe that is absolutely crucial, right? Are we kind of like in the same page? Okay. You cannot get that along with living in communes or enslaving women or tricking stupid women into working for you by prostituting themselves in a condition that is of, by any stretch of the imagination, of unequal strength. You have someone living in a country that they don't know well. You're exploiting someone for your economic benefit, and you're making, I'm such a man because I do that. No, that is not it. That's not how this works, okay? But then comes Andrew Tate and says things about men being less men, and men being feminized in our modern society. And yeah, I agree with what he said now. Yeah. They're all simps, right? And I want to be a Chad. That's how a 17-year-old thinks. Okay. The thing is, just because someone says something you agree with does not mean that everything else he says is correct, or maybe even something you agree with yourself. I'm in favor of the ownership of firearms. I think that's a crucial, essential right. I assume you think the same thing as well. Oh, the police is against my right to use a gun. The police is, the thugs, are coming after me. The man is coming after me because they oppose my right to use a gun. Well, maybe you're being shot down by the police because you're committing crimes with a gun. Oh, those pigs are such racists. They shot that black man. Well, it's different if they shot a guy that was just walking down the street than if they shot a specific black man that was about to stab a woman he was trying to rape, as we saw in video, and cops shoot him. Can we agree that it's not the same thing? Can we agree that if a cop shoots a black man that is about to stab someone with a knife, it's not because that cop hates black people, he's a racist, or he's against your right to carry a knife or a gun? You see how it's not all the same thing. And the same applies here. I have no idea what Russell Brand has done in the past or what he's like in his private life. I can just listen to what Russell Brand says himself. He has admitted several times, he actually wrote a book about how he has been very excessive with the use of drugs. He was a sex addict, according to his own words. And in the book, I think the quote is somewhat along the lines of, if I admit to doing these things, just imagine the things that I don't dare say. You be the judge of what that means. But given that this man is definitely more of the left-wing kind of... He seems like now he's kind of reinvented himself, but for most of his adult life, he seemed like a very insecure person that obviously has fallen into the use and abuse of drugs and maybe conducts and behaviors that are not what we approve of, if we believe that you should have a certain respect for women or even for yourself. The way I see people that abuse drugs is you hate yourself. You hate yourself so much that you find ways of numbing the pain that you feel with alcohol, with drugs. I mean, I've never had that problem myself. I've never, whatever reason, that's never been my problem. I have others, right, but nothing in that line. But a basic analysis of this kind of person says, at least the way I said, yeah, most likely this guy did do the things that he's being accused of. Now, in a very convenient manner, for whatever reason, are trying to shut down the voice of freedom. No, I just cannot agree with that. In the same way that I cannot agree with, Andrew Tate is being persecuted because he's waking up the Sims and making them real men. Andrew Tate is not by any stretch of the imagination what I consider to be a real man or a man at all. I think he's actually showing some of the worst of what a man or any person can possibly be, exploiting others, especially exploiting women for his own financial gain, pimping. And yeah, it sounds cool, but you know what? If you're doing it for real, there's a good chance that what you're doing is kind of like pimping or kind of like human trafficking, and that's illegal in many parts of the world. And in a very stupid manner, specifically in the case of Andrew Tate, he has confessed to doing things that are basically illegal. How could you possibly defend that? I certainly can't. Now, that's not something that Russell Brand has done to the same extent. He has said that he's been addicted to drugs, sex, and so on. There's something here interesting regarding what his ex-wife says. This woman that is a famous singer, Katy Perry, that divorced this same man. And what she said was... in a
marriage, saying, quote, I felt a lot of responsibility for it ending, but then I found out the real truth, which I can't necessarily disclose because I keep it locked in my safe for a rainy day.
Okay, what is that truth that she has discovered and she's keeping in a safe for a rainy day? Well, maybe something incriminating regarding Russell Brand. If you look at some of the other incidents in which people have had problems with him, and now are coming out and openly talking, and it will pile up. So, is it the case that this man is a saint and he's being persecuted? I think it's a lot more, you know what? I think it's a lot more that he lost the protection he used to have. I think that when he was part of the machine, when he was being protected by the elite, when he was with the BBC, just like so many other predators within the BBC, it was all good. As long as you're one of us, it's all good. Happened with Kevin Spacey. And I just watched American Beauty again. The Usual Suspects. Kevin Spacey is a wonderful actor. But yeah, based on what we know, Kevin Spacey is probably... yeah, he's done many of the things that he's been accused of in terms of his behavior in his private or even at times public life. How many of these are there? How many of these we don't even know? How many rich, super powerful people out there are doing horrible things and we don't even know of? How many have visited certain islands and they just walk up around as if nothing has happened? Just go and look it up yourself, man. The list of people that visit the famous island, and yeah, they're just nerds or politicians or super rich people, and we just pretend that's not a thing, that it hasn't happened, that a man that administrated all of that was suddenly offed in a jail cell, and we just go on. I don't think this man is a saint by any stretch of the imagination. None of us are really saints, but I probably will say that he probably did many of the things that he's being accused of or being brought out into the light. I think that is normal behavior for Hollywood people in general, okay? So, does that justify what he's going through now in terms of losing the protection that he used to have because he maybe got a little bit from too far away from the herd. No, but these people live in a different world. This guy and the rest of them, they live in a world where they're used to doing these things. It's only rare the case in which they lose that protection. So start thinking for yourself. No, yeah, I couldn't disagree more with this idea of, oh yes, he's a freedom lover. No, if you're a left-wing ideologist kind of guy, if you believe that we should be living in communes and you stand against capitalism and you support socialism, then we're not in the same page. At least not for me. Maybe you are a socialist or a communist and you believe that's the right way of doing things. The Chinese socialist government, the Soviet Union being reborn. I have an interesting video coming up regarding that, some of the way of thinking that people in Russia still firmly believe in. They believe in the Soviet Union. They believe that communism is the way and that we just don't understand how great it could possibly be if we just give it one more, college try and, go for it for real. Guys, that's just the way I see it. You can agree with me or not. If you appreciate my perspective and clash with it, maybe at times, as I was saying in that first quote, look it up, by the way. Interesting reading. See you next time. Take care.